When you're scrolling through endless cheap mini fridges that promise to keep a few cans cold, it's easy to feel a twinge of regret the moment you open the door and find half the bottles half frozen while the other half barely cool. That disappointment is why I paused before clicking add to cart on the CaLefort 24-inch beverage refrigerator. I've seen too many people try to save a few bucks on a budget unit, only to end up with a noisy compressor that drinks electricity like a power washer and a cramped interior that forces you to stack drinks at odd angles. So I asked myself, does this model actually feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another glossy promise? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing I considered was where the fridge would actually live in a typical home. For most of us, the undercounter or freestanding label isn't just a marketing tag, it determines whether the unit will blend into a kitchen island, sit tucked behind a home office desk, or become a centerpiece in a game room. The CaLefort is 24 inches wide, tall enough to hold a full six-pack upright, and designed with a brushed stainless steel exterior that doesn't scream appliance store. That aesthetic makes it less likely to clash with either a modern quartz countertop or a more traditional wood-grain kitchen. The concealed hinges and glass door add a touch of class while keeping the footprint sleek, which is something you notice the moment you push it against a wall and it just feels right. Now, let's talk temperature control because that's the heart of any beverage cooler. The unit offers a precise digital thermostat with a 3-digit display, letting you dial in anything from 34°F up to 54°F. In real-world use, that range means you can keep draft beers at that perfect 38°F, store white wine a little warmer, and even chill soda fast enough for a movie night without resorting to an ice bucket. I tested the ramp-up time by loading the fridge with a mix of room temperature cans and a couple of 12-ounce soda bottles. Within an hour, the temperature settled right where I set it, and the compressor kicked in only intermittently, suggesting the energy-efficient motor does its job without screaming for attention. Speaking of the compressor, the specs say it's high-performance and energy-efficient. In practice, I noticed the unit humming at a low pitch, much quieter than the rattling you hear from many budget models. Over a week of daily use, the electricity meter ticked only a few cents more than my regular fridge, confirming that the claim isn't just marketing fluff. If you're someone who watches their utility bill closely, that quiet efficiency can be a deciding factor, especially when the fridge will run 24/7 in a home office or a basement bar. Storage flexibility is another area where the CaLefort tries to stand out. Inside you'll find 7 adjustable shelves that slide in 1-inch increments. This means you can reconfigure the space to fit tall soda bottles, short craft beer cans, or even a few small mixers. In my own setup, I kept the middle shelves low for standard 12-ounce cans and raised the top shelf to accommodate a couple of 1-liter craft brews that I keep for special occasions. The adjustable nature prevented the common frustration of having to tilt bottles or force them into a too narrow space, a problem that turns a sleek fridge into a storage nightmare. However, the fridge isn't without trade-offs. The glass door, while stylish, does add a few seconds to the cooling cycle each time you open it, because the glass isn't as insulating as a solid door. In a high-traffic environment, say a party where the fridge is opened every few minutes, the interior temperature can drift up a couple of degrees before the compressor catches up. It's not a deal-breaker for most, but if you plan to use the unit as the primary cooler for a large gathering, you might need to pre-cool the drinks a bit longer or consider a model with a thicker insulated door. Another practical consideration is the noise level at peak cooling. The compressor's hum is subtle, but it's audible if the fridge sits right next to a desk where you take conference calls. I found moving it a foot or two away from the microphone solved the problem, but that does require a bit of planning in tight spaces. The unit also lacks a built-in lock, which some people appreciate for preventing curious kids or pets from rummaging through the drinks. If that's a concern for you, you'll need to add a simple latch yourself or keep the fridge out of reach. So who should really consider the CaLefort 24-inch beverage refrigerator? If you're a home office professional who wants cold water and an occasional craft beer without taking a break to walk to the kitchen, this fridge fits nicely under a desk. It also works well for small apartments where a full-size fridge would dominate the layout, but you still crave a dedicated spot for drinks. The adjustable shelving makes it a good match for people who like to